Welcome to Island Crimes and Mysteries. And now, it's time to join your host Nules for another episode.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Ireland Crimes and Mysteries. I want to thank you for joining me today, and if you're a returning listener, I want to say a big thank you for your continued support. If this is your first time listening to my podcast, welcome. It's great to have you on board. So without further ado, let's get started on today's story.
I know my Noah is like now everybody's Noah, and I'll gratefully share everything about my Noah so that people can get to know him, because he was such an amazing boy. And these social media accounts, I don't know much about social media, but it's a way for people to learn more about Noah, because they've taken him into their hearts. And no, yeah, he wasn't perfect. He had socks lying on the ground. It could have taken him 10 hours to tie his shoelace if I didn't keep prodding him. But in his humour, he's just such a funny boy, and it's just making him even more real to people, because he's so alive in my heart. He's so around me constantly, and I just need people to see what time they invested in searching for him and wanting answers, and oh gosh, it's a platform for Noah to sing out, and he couldn't sing. He was in the choir. He was such an enthusiastic wee boy. He had a note in his head, but my God, he really gave everything to life, and that's why I want people to just give as much as they can to keep till we get answers. It's all about getting the answers.
Today's episode of Ireland Crimes and Mysteries takes us to Belfast, where we'll explore the heart-wrenching, and I have to say, deeply upsetting case of Noah Donoghue's disappearance and death. I'm your host Nules, and together we're going to walk through the life of a young boy whose bright spirit touched so many, only to be extinguished far too soon in circumstances that still leave more questions than answers. This is a story of devastating loss and a mother's relentless pursuit for clarity, and of the community that rallied together in the face of unimaginable tragedy. We'll start by getting to know Noah and the day that changed everything for those who loved him. Noah Donoghue was a 14-year-old boy, brimming with life and curiosity. He was a student at St Malachy's College in Belfast, which is a well-regarded school known for its academic excellence. Noah was the kind of kid who seemed to soak up every opportunity to learn and grow. He had a deep love for music, particularly playing the cello, an instrument that required patience and sensitivity, qualities that those who knew him say he had in abundance. His aunt Niamh Donohue once shared how Noah's gentle nature shone through in his music, describing how he'd spend hours practicing, losing himself in the notes. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a way for him to express the depth of his emotions, something not every teenager can channel so beautifully. Beyond music, Noah was an active lad, throwing himself into sports with the same enthusiasm he brought to everything else. Rugby and basketball were his favourites, and he wasn't just a participant. He was a team player, always cheering on his mates and giving his all on the field or on the basketball court. Friends and teachers at St Malachy's often noted his infectious energy, the way he'd light up a room with his quick smile and his quicker wit. But what really set Noah apart was his curiosity, a trait that led him to teach himself Japanese in his spare time. Imagine it, a 14-year-old sitting down with language books and apps, puzzling out a whole new way of communicating, just because he wanted to. It wasn't for any school credits or to impress anyone, it was just for him, a reflection of his eager, kind nature. His mother, Fiona Donohue, often spoke of how proud she was of his determination, how he'd share his new words with her over dinner, his eyes sparkling with excitement as he stumbled through pronunciations. Noah lived in South Belfast with his mother Fiona, and the two were incredibly close. As an only child, Noah was Fiona's world, and she was his. She described their bond in a statement shortly after his disappearance, saying they were each other's everything. They had a routine, a rhythm to their days, especially during the strange, unsettling months of 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic turned lives upside down for everyone. Lockdowns had kept people indoors, schools had shifted to remote learning, and the streets of Belfast, like nearly every city in the world, were quieter than usual. But by June, restrictions had eased slightly in Northern Ireland, allowing for a bit more freedom. Young teenagers like Noah were itching to reconnect with their friends, to reclaim some sense of normalcy after months of isolation. Fiona understood that need, so when Noah told her he wanted to cycle to North Belfast to meet up with friends on the 21st of June 2020, she didn't hesitate to let him go. It was a journey he'd made before, a familiar route across the city, and Noah was a responsible kid. He knew to be careful, and he always checked in with his mother. That Sunday afternoon, Noah left his home in South Belfast around 5 p.m. The day was warm for Belfast, the kind of summer evening that felt like a little treat. He hopped on his black Apollo bike, a trusty companion for his adventure around the city, and pedalled off towards North Belfast. Fiona reminded him to call her when he got there, a simple request she'd made countless times before. Noah nodded, flashed her a grin, and promised he would. But that call never came. The minutes turned into hours, and as the evening deepened, Fiona's worry grew. She tried his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. She reached out to his friends, but they hadn't seen him either. Something was wrong. Terribly, gut-wrenchingly wrong. What makes this story even more bewildering are the accounts of those who saw Noah that day. Witnesses later reported seeing him cycling through parts of Belfast in a state that was completely out of character. After that, Noah vanished into the evening, leaving behind a trail of confusion and fear. The timeline of those final hours is pieced together from CCTV footage and witness statements. Was he in distress? Was he fleeing something or someone? These are the questions that gnawed at Fiona as she waited for news. And they're questions that would soon mobilise an entire city in a desperate search for answers. But back on that evening of June 21st, as the hours stretched on without word from Noah, Fiona's anxieties turned to panic. She contacted the Police Service of Northern Ireland, otherwise known as the PSNI, reporting him missing and explaining how unlike him it was to disappear like this. The PSNI sprang into action, launching a search that would draw in hundreds of volunteers from across Belfast. Community groups spread the word, social media lit up with pleas for information, and the hashtag #FindNoah began trending locally. But as the days passed with no sign of him, the hope of finding Noah safe began to waver. They were replaced by a growing dread that something unimaginable had happened to this bright, beloved boy. That dread would soon become reality, plunging Noah's family and community into a grief that still lingers to this very day. But before we dive into what happened next, let's keep who Noah was in our minds as we recount his story. A boy with dreams, talent, and a heart full of kindness, because that's the memory his loved ones fight to keep alive amidst the turmoil of this unspeakable tragedy. As I said, a massive search ensued after Noah failed to return home on the evening of June 21st, 2020, pulling in not just the PSNI, but hundreds of community volunteers who scoured Belfast for 6 agonising days. Just imagine, a city still grappling with the constraints of the COVID-19 pandemic, lockdowns, social distancing, and all the uncertainty that came with that, suddenly united by a shared mission. Noah, a 14-year-old boy, had vanished, and the people of Belfast weren't about to sit idly by. From South Belfast, where Noah lived with his mother Fiona, to the north, where he was last seen, streets buzzed with activity as volunteers spread out, knocking on doors, combing through parks and peering into alleyways. Social media lit up with posts sharing his photo. A bright-eyed boy with a shy smile. Often described as someone who just loved life, according to his mother Fiona in interviews. The hashtag #FindNoah continued trending locally and nationally, a desperate digital plea in tandem with the real-world efforts. The PSNI took charge of the official search, deploying officers and resources to track Noah's last known movements. CCTV footage became a lifeline, offering snippets of his journey through Belfast that Sunday evening. At 5:41 p.m, cameras captured him cycling along Donegal Road in South Belfast, his green backpack strapped to his shoulders. By around 6 p.m, witnesses reported seeing him fall off his bike near North Queen Street, a moment that would later become a focal point in the investigation. Noah left his home, as I said, on Sunday the 21st at around 5 p.m. by bicycle. He then travelled along the Ormeau Road at 5:42 p.m. towards the city centre, before cycling through Victoria Square at 5:49 p.m. Then onto Cornmarket, High Street and Royal Avenue at 5:50 p.m. As I said, all this journey is captured on the city centre CCTV. Noah is last seen carrying his bag containing his laptop and some books, travelling alongside the Art College near the corner of York Street and Frederick Street at 5:53 p.m. No one else is present in the vicinity at this time. Subsequent CCTV footage obtained by police shows Noah travelling towards York Gate, by which stage Noah is clearly seen to no longer be carrying his bag. This bag was discovered by a member of the public sometime later. CCTV footage confirmed that the individual who took the bag was a number of miles away when Noah was last seen with the bag at or about the Art College. Noah then travelled along York Street, crossing Great Patrick Street and the motorway before turning left into Bromlin Street and then right onto North Queen Street at 5:57 p.m. Noah's mobile phone was discovered close to a children's playground in North Queen Street by a member of the public. It was handed in to police as part of the missing persons inquiry. At 6 p.m, as Noah cycled towards the Grove Wellbeing Centre, he fell from his bicycle just before the junction with the Shore Road. A motorist stopped to assist, but Noah got back on his bicycle, and at 6:01 p.m, he continued along the Shore Road without his green overcoat. This item of clothing has not been recovered. At just before 6:02 p.m, Noah is seen entering Northwood Crescent from Skegnall Avenue. He is wearing a black cycling helmet, blue hoodie, grey shorts and black trainers. Noah's cycling helmet was found by a member of the public between 17 and 23 Northwood Road. Some of the remaining clothes were discovered by a member of the public lying on a wall at 63 Northwood Road. At 6:03, Noah is seen a short distance away outside 85 Northwood Road without any clothes on. He is seen on this CCTV to go between numbers 89 and 91 Northwood Road, which leads to an area of waste ground behind the houses. This is the last confirmed sighting of Noah, a residential area not far from where he was headed. His mother Fiona noted in an interview with Belfast Live that Noah was a shy, reserved boy, not someone prone to erratic behaviour. So what had happened in those initial minutes between his fall and that final sighting? The search wasn't just a logistical operation, it was an emotional outpouring. Volunteers, many of whom didn't even know Noah or his family, turned out in their droves. They came from all walks of life. Parents who couldn't imagine losing their own child, teenagers who saw themselves in Noah, and older people who remembered Belfast's tougher times and wanted to help in any way they could. Vigils were held, candles flickering against the summer dusk as people gathered to pray and hope for his safe return. Fiona, with the support of her sister Niamh, became the heart of the effort, her voice cracking but resolute in media appeals. He's my world, she would say, her words carrying the weight of a mother's love and of her terror. She described how they were each other's everything, Fiona a single mum and Noah her only child, sharing a bond that went beyond words. As I said, the community rallied around her. Their determination was fuelled by her raw grief. As the days dragged on, the search intensified. Noah's bike was found on the 22nd of June near Shore Road, abandoned. Its discovery a gut punch to those holding out hope. The Shore Road, a busy stretch near Belfast Lough, was a far cry from the residential streets where Noah was last seen, raising immediate questions about how it got there. Was it moved? Did Noah ride it that far himself? The PSNI didn't speculate publicly at the time, but the find spurred a renewed focus on that area. The lady who found the bike, Karen Crooks, spoke with the BBC, saying she found Noah's bicycle at her Northwood Road home just off the Shore Road on the Sunday evening at about 8 p.m. Ms. Crooks thought the bicycle had been left behind by local boys. I went out and lifted it off the ground because it was just lying at the back of my car. I didn't think any more of it. I thought his mother would come up for it, or maybe the boy himself. I went to work the next morning. It was still there. I came home and then started to look on social media and saw the missing boy. Something alerted me to make me read into it more. And I saw it was on the Shore Road, and I saw the black Apollo mountain bike. Ms. Crooks said her heart sank and she rang the police. Volunteers and officers combed the nearby scrubland, checked ditches and peered into the murky waters of the loch. Then came another breakthrough. Noah's backpack containing his laptop and a book turned up. Darrell Paul, a 33-year-old man from Belfast, found Noah's rucksack, which contained his Levino laptop and school books, including a copy of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Paul later claimed he did not know the items belonged to Noah, but court records indicated he stole the laptop on this day. On the 23rd of June, Paul, along with Maria Nolan, attempted to sell the laptop at a cash converter store in Belfast, an action captured on CCTV footage. This occurred 2 days after Noah's disappearance, during the height of the search operation. The PSNI announced they had recovered Noah's missing backpack, book and laptop, stating they were found in North Belfast following a call from a member of the public. Superintendent Clark described the recovery as significant, noting it would form a major line of inquiry. However, the exact circumstances of the laptop's recovery were not immediately clear, with the police not revealing the precise location, likely due to the ongoing investigation into Paul and Nolan. Subsequent court proceedings shed light on Maria Nolan's role. On March the 23rd, 2021, Nolan was charged with possession of Noah's stolen laptop. She appeared in court, and on the 9th of June 2022, she was convicted of handling stolen goods after trying to pawn the laptop. The court heard that she was filmed on CCTV trying to trade in the computer alongside Paul. She contested the charges, claiming she did not realise it belonged to Noah. However, the judge at Belfast Magistrates Court found she took an active part in the attempt to pawn it. Darrell Paul, on the other hand, was charged with theft of the laptop on November 12th, 2020 and pleaded guilty. He was jailed for 3 months in January of 2021 for stealing the rucksack containing the laptop and school books, confirming he was the one who found and stole it initially. This discovery deepened the mystery. How had his belongings ended up so scattered, and where was Noah? The PSNI issued appeals for information, setting up a major incident public portal where people could upload tips, photos or videos that might help. Every lead, no matter how small, was chased down. A local business owner thought he'd seen a boy matching Noah's description. A dog walker reported hearing shouts near a wooded area. A grainy piece of CCTV footage sparked hours of analysis. But as the hours turned into days, the hope that Noah would be found alive began to waver. Fiona, though, she wouldn't let go. In one of her many public statements, she urged people to keep looking, to keep believing. "He's out there somewhere," she said, her voice steady despite the strain. "He needs us." On the 27th of June 2020, 6 days after Noah disappeared, the search came to a devastating end. His body was found in a storm drain off the Shore Road, not far from where his bike had been discovered. The storm drain, a narrow tunnel, was part of the city's infrastructure to manage rainwater, stretching about 1 kilometre through a dark, damp network of concrete tunnels, with no internal lighting and slippery surfaces and a low ceiling in parts. The drain is a confined and disorientating maze, making it a challenging setting for anyone, let alone a 14-year-old boy.
Noah, he'd never been in this part of the city before, or ever, it appears, had any knowledge of any storm drain, let alone this one. The questions. Did he happen upon this storm drain by accident? Did he run between the houses naked and then take a sharp left past the bark gardens of homes enjoying Father's Day barbecues? Was this storm drain locked when he found it? If open, could he lift it? Or even have slipped between the bars? How likely was that for the 8.5-stone teenager? Perhaps, did he find and open it in the dark? These are some of the questions we ask, and each answer will provoke even more questions. And then the biggest question of all. If he did enter this drain, as the PSNI described, then how did he meet his end?
This storm drain was an unlikely place for Noah to end up. It was partially covered by a heavy grate, surrounded by overgrown grass and debris, a spot you wouldn't stumble into by accident. The PSNI confirmed the news in a sombre statement saying, "On the 27th of June 2020, the Police Service of Northern Ireland confirmed that a body was discovered in a storm drain in North Belfast, near Northwood Road, at about 9:40 a.m. following a 6-day search. While formal identification is pending, we believe the remains to be those of 14-year-old Noah Donoghue, reported missing on the 21st of June after he was last seen cycling in the area. We extend our deepest condolences to Noah's family. A post-mortem examination will be conducted to determine the cause of death, and our investigation into the circumstances continue. We thank the public and volunteers for their support during this difficult time."
Unfortunately, I have some very sad news. I can confirm that our specialist police search and rescue team, who were continuing to search the storm drain complex, recovered the body of a young male in the North Belfast area just before 9:45 a.m. today. While we have no official identification, we do believe it is the missing teenager, Noah Donoghue. Our thoughts and sympathies are with Noah's family, and we're continuing to provide support to them at this very difficult and heartbreaking time.
This discovery raised immediate questions, but the police were quick to offer an initial theory. They suggested Noah might have suffered a head injury from an earlier fall off his bike, leading to disorientation that caused him to wander into the storm drain, where he ultimately drowned. A subsequent post-mortem examination listed drowning as the cause of death, with a possible head injury noted as a contributing factor. The PSNI stated there was no evidence of foul play, framing the tragedy as a horrific accident. A boy who got hurt, lost his way and met a terrible end. It was a tidy explanation, one that might have brought closure in another case. But for Noah's family, it only opened the door to more questions. Noah's funeral took place on Wednesday, the 1st of July 2020, following the discovery of his body on the 27th of June. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, the service was held privately at 11 a.m. at St Patrick's Chapel on Donegal Street in Belfast. It was limited to just 10 family members. The ceremony was officiated over by Father Michael McGinnity, who delivered a heartfelt homily, echoing Fiona's tribute that Noah, in his 14 years, poured a whole lifetime of love into her life. After the service, the cortege made a poignant final journey to St Malachy's College, a place Noah loved, where students and community rescue service formed a guard of honour. Hundreds lined the Antrim Road applauding as the white coffin, topped with flowers and a photo of Noah, passed by, reflecting the community's grief and their unity. Fiona and her loved ones couldn't accept the police's version of events at face value. Too many pieces didn't fit. For one, Noah's clothing, or lack thereof, became a sticking point. He'd been seen cycling naked on Northwood Road, and when his body was found, none of his clothes, like his green coat or grey shorts, were recovered. Where had they gone? If he'd simply fallen and wandered off, why were his belongings scattered across different parts of the city? Fiona pointed out in an interview that Noah wasn't the type to act impulsively or recklessly. His behaviour that day didn't match the boy she knew inside and out. He was shy, careful, she said. This isn't him. Then there was the photo on Noah's phone, a detail that would later become a cornerstone of the family's push for answers. The image, taken at 6:50 p.m. on the 21st of June, well after his last sighting at 6:11 p.m, showed a hand, suggesting someone else had access to his phone after he disappeared. Fiona believes the hand in the photo belongs to an older white male. She also says the timestamp on the photo is the same time as one of her many calls to Noah that evening to see if he'd arrived safely. Police never flagged this photo. This revelation added more questions than answers. Who took the photo? Where was Noah when it happened? The phone itself was eventually recovered, but the questions it raised lingered, fueling Fiona's determination to dig deeper. The family also felt left down by the police's handling of the search and investigation. Fiona criticised the PSNI for not paying overtime to officers involved in the initial search, suggesting it limited the effort. She also questioned the lack of forensic work done at the scene where Noah was found. They did little, if any, forensics, she said, her frustration palpable. To Fiona, it seemed like the authorities were too quick to close the book on her son's death, labelling it an accident without exploring other possibilities.
I just want to let you know the reason we've been fighting for answers and continuously asking the PSNI for more specific responses. At the start, when Noah went missing, you expect every resource to be given to your missing child's investigation. Most people, including myself, would have thought when the last place Noah was found was located, it would be immediately cordoned off because there was no information. A third party was involved. So you would eliminate that straight away by cordoning it off and doing forensics. In Noah's case, this didn't happen. Insofar that forensics, there's been an issue. Our first meeting with the SIO involved in Noah's case in the coroner, we had requested as a matter of importance that a water sample would be taken from the place that Noah's body was found. And this is extremely important because in a pathology investigation then, the pathologist can check the water sample that's been taken from the source of where Noah was found and Noah's lungs and kidneys. They correlated the information from both are the same. That means that then we can say definitively Noah drowned in that place and not in a different location. That water sample was never taken, but we were promised that it had been in that meeting. Other forensics that weren't done, door handles weren't checked, even though witnesses have said they heard door handles that night. So no fingerprints at all have been taken in Noah's case. No fingerprints from around the storm drain. Nothing that could have been done around the storm drain. Noah's clothes, not all of them were found. The clothes that were found were picked in a bag. This bag was unsealed, and so the PSNI now say it's contaminated, so no forensics can be done on clothes that were found. Noah was still missing on the Tuesday, and not all Noah's clothes were found, but PSNI allowed the bin lorries to go up that street and empty the bins on Tuesday when Noah was still missing. Noah's bike, which could have had fingerprints on, everything has to be eliminated, every eventuality. The bike was taken to the police station and left out in the rain, and so the PSNI said We can't take fingerprints. It was left out in the rain. Along with the water sample, another important sample that's needed is a brain sample. There was no brain sample taken in Noah's pathology investigation. Just basically the only forensics that were done in Noah's investigation were data forensics on Noah's digital devices. There were 0 forensics done in Noah's investigation. As far as I say about cordoning off an area, the public were amazing and came out to search for Noah. But because this particular area around the storm drain wasn't cordoned off, it was corrupted by, other people going into it. So no forensics could ever have been taken after that. This is very hard because, you expect everything to be done for your child. That's what you expect. But I've learned over 4 years of fighting for answers, and it has been a long, hard fight for myself and my sister and Noah's legal counsel to get any information, because there's been wall upon wall placed in front of us. Somebody's responsible for that, and I would never, this is another reason why we're fighting so hard, is we never want another family to have to go through this struggle in 2024. This shouldn't be the case, and to highlight this is extremely important so it doesn't happen to another family. I wouldn't want anybody going through it. Well, thank you for taking time to listen, and thank you for keeping up the fight for justice for beautiful Noah.
The use of public interest immunity certificates by the PSNI, which allowed them to withhold certain information from any inquest, only deepened her mistrust. Fiona believed these redactions were hiding something. Maybe not the full truth, but something that could explain what really happened to Noah. With any possible inquest unable to explore other possibilities beyond the accidental drowning theory, the redactions fueled a growing sense that the full story of Noah's final hours remained locked away, buried as deeply as he was in that storm drain.
The tragic death of 14-year-old Noah Donoghue in a storm drain in North Belfast has prompted an unending number of questions. His family hopes the inquest will answer some of them. The PSNI applied for a public interest immunity certificate, which would allow them to withhold some material they believe might pose a risk to the wider public interest, including national security. In July, the Secretary of State, Shailesh Farah, signed the PII certificate, but it's the coroner who decides whether it can be used. Today, at a hearing to decide just that, more details emerged of the type of information the police want to redact and the scale. At least 119 redactions across 600 pages. A lawyer for the PSNI told presiding coroner Mr Justice Humphreys there are some pieces of information that relate to the identification of sources and some information about police methodology and how they process, develop and use intelligence. Counsel for the Donohue family, who were in court today, urged the coroner to turn down the police request. Brenda Campbell QC said withholding material which can safely be disclosed will undoubtedly do more harm than good and will further undermine public confidence in the administration of justice. Withholding or concealing information is the antithesis of what we all hope to achieve. It emerged the Donohue family have now lodged 3 complaints with the police ombudsman. The most recent, last month, involves allegations a police source had been leaking sensitive material on social media. Counsel for the PSNI said none of the material alleged to have been leaked was sensitive. He added that the PSNI was not aware of any leak or any unauthorised disclosure of any undisclosed material.
Fiona and the campaign group Noah's Army turned to investigative journalist Donal McIntyre for help. With over 30 years of experience exposing police failures, McIntyre and his team of experts began digging into Noah's death by late 2020. Driven by the family's distrust of the PSNI's accidental death theory. Donal McIntyre's involvement, later spotlighted in a 2023 crowdfunding appeal, marked a turning point, promising to uncover truths the official investigation might have buried.
In this bite-sized review of the Noah Donoghue case, what I wanted to do is reflect upon some of the questions which have been posed to me about the questions I've been asking about the recovery of Noah's body. So we've been asking, who made the decision and why to enter the drains, and in particular that storm drain? Was there any particular piece of intelligence? Was that just a hunch, or was it something that had been passed on to the PSNI? That would be helpful and a baseline for any investigator. The second thing is, we've been asking, why did it take so long to find Noah's body? Having started or agreed that it was appropriate to search the drains on the Tuesday, and that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the body was found on the Saturday. Why did it take so long? 950 metres, fibre optic cable, a lot of it downstream, a small part of it tidal. Why did it take so long? And that's an important question. Not to blame anybody. It's an important question because we don't know when Noah passed, how he passed, death by drowning, but we don't know when he passed. And so there is a possibility, and it's uncomfortable. It's not blameworthy, but it's uncomfortable that Noah may have been alive while the rescuers were above ground and below ground, and even in the top end of the tunnel. That's a possibility. It's a possibility which has to be considered, because it's not just about Noah's case, it's about future Noahs, future missing children. No procedure or process is perfect, and the way we amend them is by challenging them and asking about them and digging and questioning and probing, and that's our job. These questions are not for blame, they're for accountability, they're for processes, procedure and potential change. They're for future Noahs and for all future missing children.
In 2021, the PSNI launched a corporate manslaughter probe into the Department of Infrastructure, questioning if their negligence over an unsecured storm drain led to Noah Donoghue's drowning. But by late 2024, the PPS shut it down, citing insufficient evidence, leaving Fiona Donohue and many others wondering if the system failed Noah twice. First, by letting him access that drain, and then by letting those responsible walk free. Then, in a Sunday World article published on the 18th of June 2023, a new revelation adding more mystery to Noah's story. On the morning of the 21st of June 2020, 14-year-old Noah Donoghue quietly snuck out of his Belfast home at 3:30 a.m. A fact captured on CCTV footage from his residence on Fitzroy Road. He returned 35 minutes later at around 4:05 a.m, just as dawn was breaking. When he came back, he was soaking wet, missing his headphones and flip-flops, which he'd been wearing when he left. This late-night excursion happened just 14 hours before Noah disappeared later that day. This footage wasn't shared with Noah's mother, Fiona, until October 2022, over 2 years after his death, despite the PSNI having it in their possession much earlier. Fiona has expressed shock and distress over this revelation, noting she had no idea Noah had left that night. She told the Sunday World that during the week Noah was missing, PSNI officers asked if he could have snuck out without her knowledge. She had dismissed the idea, citing a single key to their apartment and the squeaky doors, but the footage proved her wrong. Fiona hasn't watched the footage herself, finding it too painful, though her legal team have reviewed it and described it as shocking and truly concerning. The details of Noah's 35-minute journey remain a mystery. The PSNI seized CCTV footage from Noah's home and one other nearby building, but according to a post on X by Donald McIntyre, this footage only accounts for 4 minutes of Noah's trip, leaving 31 minutes unaccounted for. Where did he go? Who, if anyone, did he meet? Why was he wet when he returned? These questions hang heavily over the case, especially since the PSNI didn't initially share this information with Fiona or the public, raising even more concerns about transparency. Donald McIntyre, who has been leading an independent investigation into Noah's death with a team of crime experts, including former UK Serious Crime Squad officer Andy Croker, argues this revelation opens up new possibilities. Croker, who worked on the Millie Dowler case, told the Sunday World that as a senior officer, he'd immediately consider coercion, grooming, or even potential involvement with drugs, given Noah's unusual behaviour. He expressed shock that such critical information was withheld for so long, noting that a public appeal for additional CCTV, ring footage or witness testimony from that 3 a.m. window could have been made earlier, potentially uncovering more about Noah's actions. The timing of this disclosure has also fuelled frustration. A pre-inquest hearing at Laganside Courthouse, held shortly before the Sunday World article was published, revealed ongoing battles over CCTV and other disclosure material. Fiona's legal team, led by Brenda Campbell, KC, has been pushing for access to additional CCTV near Noah's home, but the PSNI have resisted, claiming the footage is not relevant and the request disproportionate. This has delayed the inquest, originally scheduled for September 2023, as the family insists on resolving all disclosure issues first. The Coroner's Counsel, Declan Quinn, noted that some of this material might require a court ruling to be released, further complicating the process. Following on from the discovery of the CCTV footage of Noah leaving the house the night before he went missing, a BBC report from the 6th of March 2025 throws another curveball. Journalist Donald McIntyre, who broke that story, claims the PSNI spied on his investigation, intercepting his talks with Noah's mother Fiona, and even breaking into his car to access case files. PSNI denies intrusive surveillance, saying they just took an interest, but the damage is done. With the public already questioning the police's accidental death theory, especially after withholding that critical footage for over 2 years, this spying scandal suggests they might be guarding a darker secret. This year started off with a 21st of January 2025 preliminary hearing at the Royal Courts of Justice in Belfast, where the PSNI proposed using artificial intelligence to analyse hours of CCTV footage from around Noah's home. This move aimed to identify whether Noah left in the early hours in the days before his disappearance on the 21st of June, building on earlier revelations of his 3:30 a.m. outing. Coroner Mr. Justice Rooney approved the AI as an essential first step, targeting a full inquest before the summer of 2025. Though Fiona's legal team expressed caution about the novel technology, reflecting broader distrust given the case's history. On the 7th of February 2025, an unscheduled review hearing revealed a snag. The AI software trial period expired in January, a detail not initially disclosed to the coroner. This prompted concerns about delays in reviewing the footage, with Fiona's team only learning of the issue the day before, further cementing Fiona's fears of ongoing transparency issues. Noah Donoghue's case has hit so many twists and turns in the last few years. AI to scour CCTV, a software glitch, and the shocking claims of the PSNI spying on investigator Donald McIntyre, all while the inquest looms but stumbles towards summer. As we wrap up this episode about Noah Donoghue, it's hard not to feel the deep sadness of a 14-year-old boy whose life ended way too soon in a storm drain in Belfast. From his unexplained early morning trip to the ongoing delays in the inquest, from the questions about whether the authorities could have done more, to the love shown by the community along the Antrim Road, Noah's story keeps pulling us in with so much left unresolved. Fiona's tireless fight, Donald McIntyre's determined investigation, and the frustration over what hasn't been shared. Ultimately, this is about finding justice for Noah, who gave so much love in his short life. As technology works to review old footage and the PSNI faces tough questions, we can only hope the truth will one day bring Fiona and her family some peace. Until then, let's keep Noah's story alive, and if there are any updates, I will bring them to you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next podcast. So guys, that's it for today's episode of the Ireland Crimes and Mysteries podcast. Again, thanks for your listenership, and don't forget to subscribe to the show and hit that auto download so you never miss an episode. Until the next time, keep your eyes open, and your mind curious. This podcast has been compiled from information gathered in the public sphere, like news articles, documentaries, and open source material that can be found on the web. Everything in this podcast is alleged unless a conviction has taken place.
You've been listening to Island Crimes and Mysteries. Join Nules for another episode, coming real soon. And keep up to date by following our social media sites, our YouTube channel, and our website, islandcrimesandmysteries.ie.